End of year DVD and Blu-ray update, take one. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Welcome to another DVD and Blu-ray update. This is the last one of 2021, and I've bought arguably a bit too much. So I made a promise to myself that next year I'm going to try and cut back on the amount of DVDs and Blu-rays I buy. I'm going to try and cut it back to around 40 in the year. Anyway, let's just get started. So I might as well show these two together. Halloween 2 and Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I've already got the first Halloween. I've had it on Blu-ray for some time, but I never got around to buying the sequels. There's not a box set or anything like that that's easily available, and to be honest, really only the second one and the third one are the ones I have any interest in watching. So anyway, here's Halloween 2. This is basically a direct sequel to the first one, and was supposed to be the film to wrap up the Michael Myers story. Just a very quick note, if you buy this DVD, on the back it says it runs for 79 minutes. That's not true. The actual runtime on the disc is around 88, because obviously, because of how speed up, it runs slightly faster. So this is complete and uncut. There's nothing edited out. But the transfer, I'm not going to lie, is a bit shit. I wouldn't say it looks like VHS quality, but it just looks really sort of like a bit smudged, a bit naff, to be honest with you. I think if there was a Blu-ray out of this in this country, I would have bought it on Blu-ray, but of course, sadly, there isn't. Anyway, here's the disc. And then the next one is the one I'm most excited to watch, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. This is famously the one that doesn't have Michael Myers in it, because John Carpenter, basically what he wanted to do was he wanted the Halloween series to be like an anthology series where each entry is a different film. So the first two were the Michael Myers story, and then, you know, he wraps that up at the end of Halloween 2, and then Halloween 3 was kind of like its own thing. And then, like, when this film came out, this proverbial shit really hit the fan, because a lot of fans were really angry, because they were just like, it's terrible, it doesn't have Michael Myers in it, how can you call it Halloween if it's not got Michael Myers in it? And so when, like, Halloween 4 came along, they had to contrive a reason to bring Michael Myers back. Yeah, a lot of people have very dim views about horror sequels, and unfortunately, this doesn't go for all horror fans, because I know there's a ton of horror fans who really like Halloween 3, but the horror fans, especially back then, they were the reason why pretty much all slasher sequels feel the same, because when you try something different, they get angry. I mean, I don't mind like horror sequels that try something different, because I mean, I'm probably one of the few people on Earth who actually likes Friday the 13th Part 5. So yeah. This one has got a slightly polarising response, but I really want to check it out. It has a massive cult following. Anyway, here's the disc. And surprisingly, despite the fact that this came out around about the same time as Halloween 2 on DVD and was from the same company, the transfer is infinitely better. So, yeah. Next one is Oliver Stone's Talk Radio, which I didn't know this film existed until like a month or so ago, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It's a brilliant film. It's surprisingly the second Oliver Stone film I've seen. The other one is Natural Born Killers, and I actually think this is better than Natural Born Killers. It's a great film, a great sort of, well, it's a drama, but it's a really great sort of satire on like shock jocks, talk radio personalities and stuff. It is very much a product of its time, but in terms of like its overall themes and stuff, it's still fairly relevant today because you still get shock jocks, but the only difference is rather than being on the radio, they're on the internet, because you get a lot of like gobby pricks like Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Alex Belfield, etc. Who are kind of very much like the character in this film. But yeah, this is a great film, really. I don't know if it's underrated. I wouldn't call it underrated. It's more overlooked because not that many people have heard of it. It sort of came out between Wall Street and Born on the 4th of July and was basically forgotten about. But yeah, it's a great film, great character study, and the character played by Eric Bogosian, Barry Champlain, who also wrote the film. He's brilliant in this. I've not seen Eric Bogosian in many stuff. I think I've only actually seen him in like Under Siege 2, and he did a few voices for Beavis and Butthead Do America. But yeah, this actually kind of makes me want to look up more of his stuff, because this is a great film. Definitely recommended. And now we move on to, this is sort of like a trilogy set. Well, it's a trilogy, but it's not. Well, it's sort of a trilogy, but the films are are standalone. And they're 3 films directed by Peter Jackson. So we'll start with the first one. That is his first film, Bad Taste. This is Peter Jackson's first film. Yes, that's Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson, because I think most people generally kind of know this, but not that many people do. That before Lord of the Rings and King Kong and stuff, he was making like over the top like splatter comedies, on like a shoestring budget and stuff. But yeah, I've not seen this yet. I'm gonna watch it, do a screening of it at some point. But I've heard very good things about it. Well, good things, from people who actually appreciate trash cinema. So basically, people like me, because it's obviously bad, but it's like, I don't want to say it's intentionally bad. It's more obviously the fact that it's done on a very low budget. It was very low budget. It was produced over 4 years, over weekends. It was supposed to be, I believe it was supposed to be a 10-minute short film, but it became a feature film. And obviously, like, the actors in it, they're just like friends and work colleagues Peter Jackson knew, and like it was the visual effects, were done in house and stuff. But yeah, here's the disc. But yeah, can't wait to give that a watch. And then we have Peter Jackson's second film, Meet the Feebles, or The Muppets on Crack. A lot less people know that Peter Jackson basically made a absolutely sick and twisted Muppets parody. Not seen this yet. This one kind of has a bit more of a polarising response, among like fans of Peter Jackson, because you either love it or you hate it. I'm going to go into it with an open mind. It might be fun. I got this and the next one second hand, because they're out of print and you can't get them anymore. And this one is quite rare. It very rarely pops up on eBay, and when it does, it costs a bomb. This cost me about £12 something, which is a bit much, if you look at it, but like that's the cheapest I've ever seen it go for. But yeah, here's the disc. Interesting enough, this was actually put out by Arrow. Right there, Arrow. This was the Arrow who eventually became like Arrow Video and Arrow Academy. Although I think they've retired the Arrow Academy label now. This was very early days of Arrow. This was from before the 2009 relaunch. This DVD is, I think, from 2000, but I'm not sure because it doesn't have a date anywhere, and even it says on the disc like the files were modified in 2036, so I've got no idea how old this is. But yeah, the transfer on this is not great. That Bad Taste and the other one, I'll be showing you next. They've not got great transfers. I mean, they're very old. They're from the 90s transfers and stuff. So I mean, it does look a bit like it's sourced from a videotape. But saying that, you know, it's not a terrible transfer. You know what I mean? It's a lot better than like Fritz the Cat, the Fritz the Cat DVD I've got, which was put out by the same company. And to be honest, how on earth they thought that transfer was acceptable is beyond me. But you know, this is fine. It's fine. It's perfectly watchable. And then the next one is the one most people have heard of: Brain Dead, or Dead Alive in America. But yeah, this is the one I'm most excited to check out. I've heard nothing but good positive things about this film. You know, it's, you know, over the top. It's considered one of the goriest films ever made. So yeah, I've heard it's absolutely fun. It's, you know, basically all really funny and stuff. But yeah, here's the disc. I know Peter Jackson's been going on about doing like 4K remasters of these films. I don't know when they're coming out, you know, because he announced it years ago, but you know, it would be interesting to see. Although they're not going to look great on 4K, because I believe all three were shot on 16mm as opposed to 35mm, so they're not going to look superb in 4K, but you know, they should look good. Yeah, surprisingly, this is one of the few editions of the film that's completely uncut, because I know this film came out on Blu-ray in the States, but the Blu-ray is, I mean, it's out of print and goes for hundreds of pounds or something stupid like that. It's only got the trailer. It's region A locked as well, as far as I can tell, and it's not even the full version. Some countries, you know, this film is banned in some countries and or was very heavily cut. And even the US unrated version is actually run shorter than the original version. This is actually, the UK was one of the few places that actually passed the film uncut, believe it or not. And in fact, they were even considering giving the film a 15 certificate, because they thought, you know, it was so over the top, it was so ridiculous, you know. And then they remembered like the video nasty scare and stuff, and then they decided just to give it an 18, which, you know, is fine. This is one of the few sort of full versions of the film, because the unrated version, which was called Dead in America, which was under the title Dead Alive, is only 97 minutes. This is the full 104-minute cut. Well, around 104. It says 100 on the back, but it's actually 104 because you've got to take into account past speed up. Right, now I'm moving on to the Blu-rays, and this is basically the bulk of the update. So the first one is Network. I thought this title was going out of print, but I don't think it is, because it disappeared off HMV and then it like appeared back. So I don't know what's going on with it, but yeah, it's a really good film. It's not perfect, but it's a really, really good film. It's a bit like talk radio, you know, because it's satirising like news media and, you know, like extremist personalities and stuff. Except this is more about the television industry, and obviously it came out before, because talk radio came out in the 80s and this came out in the 70s. But yeah, this is my third Sidney Lumet film. The other two I've seen are Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon. Dog Day Afternoon is brilliant. Serpico is a bit shit, I'm not gonna lie. But this is, it's kind of goes in the middle. It's not as good as Dog Day Afternoon, but a lot better than Serpico. I still need to watch like 12 Angry Men. But yeah, here's the disc, and here's the reversible artwork that it came with. This is my second Arrow Academy. I believe Arrow are now ditching Arrow Academy, and they're going to re-release a lot of their titles under Arrow Video. Which, I mean, it is a shame to see the Arrow Academy label go, but, you know, at least they're not dropping all Academy titles out of print. But anyway, inside we have a card for I think that's the Arrow Video channel. Arrow Video Player, whatever that was called. And a picture for Over the Edge. Next one is a title that's definitely gone out of print. or on Blu-ray rather, and that is Mrs. Doubtfire with the late great, very sadly missed Robin Williams. I wanted the Blu-ray because you can still get the DVD, but the DVD is cut, the UK DVD. The Blu-ray is one of the few editions that's uncut. But yeah, this is another really good film as well. A lot of it has aged pretty badly. Like there's that like transphobic. I never mess with boys because I used to be one and stuff like that. And a lot of people kind of have complained that the film basically promotes the idea that like transgender people are nothing but con artists and stuff, which I can see where they're coming from completely, but I mean, it's still a good little film, for what it is. It's still a good little film, but you kind of have to look at it like, obviously it's a product of its time. I mean, it doesn't make it okay, but here's the disc. So yeah, this one, has gone out of print. Next one is, and now we're going way back, we're going to an Alfred Hitchcock film, and actually one of my favourite Hitchcock films, The 39 Steps. This is the original 39 Steps from 1935. There were quite a few like remakes and stuff. This is the Alfred Hitchcock version. This is a really good film. This I definitely would recommend it if you like getting into Hitchcock and stuff. It sort of is like the early version of stuff like North by Northwest and Saboteur, that type of stuff. But I don't think it's better than Saboteur, but I would say I prefer North by Northwest. But yeah, great film, great Hitchcock film. I think Alfred Hitchcock, if you're a film buff but you only like knowledge of film is like late 20th century onwards, I think Hitchcock, kind of his films are probably a good introduction to like older films, because like even though basically a lot of his films do feel like films that of the time, a lot of them are still really engaging, really entertaining to this day. So I would say, like, if you are going to get into older films, Hitchcock is probably a good person to start with. But yeah. Okay, so last few a couple of sort of Christmassy sort of films, because obviously Christmas has been and gone, so I got a couple of Christmas films. You kind of have to. So the first one is one that actually isn't a Christmas film at all, which I was a little surprised about, and it is Uncle Buck with the late great John Candy. This is one of John Hughes's this is sort of that transition period for John Hughes when he was sort of going away from like the slightly more raunchy comedies like Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller, Planes, Trains and Automobiles and stuff, and was sort of going into the family comedies of the 90s. Yeah, it's not a Christmas film at all. I thought it was, but it's not. Yeah, but it is a very good film. This it's not my favourite John Hughes film. I would say I prefer like Planes, Trains and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller, The Breakfast Club. I would say I prefer Home Alone, but I've got a soft spot for Home Alone, so of course. But yeah, this is still a pretty good film. Here's the disc. And now we go on to films which are Christmassy, and the next one is an absolute classic. You can't be without it. It's a Wonderful Life. I actually watched this for the first time last Christmas. An amazing film, this. If you're like me and you're like pessimistic about it, because it's not because it's old. I mean, I'm not that shallow. I'm not that shallow. I'm not that type of shallow film twat who doesn't like black and white films. When you look at it and you hear about its concept and stuff like that, you think, yeah, it's not going to be great, is it? But when you give it a go, you realise it's actually a really good film. It's a bit like Wizard of Oz or Singing in the Rain, that type of stuff. But yeah, this is the Blu-ray that came out a few years back in 2019, and it's only got the black and white version, which is perfect, because I do not want the colour version at all. You know, if a film was made in black and white, watch it in black and white. Don't watch it with colour. Here's the disc. Bland and blue because Paramount are cheap. But yeah, absolute classic that. Now move on to a film which you wouldn't expect me to enjoy, but is a film I actually quite enjoy. And that is Santa Claus the movie. This is not the Santa Claus, the Tim Allen film, which for some reason a lot of people confuse the two films, even though I don't. And, you know, they're nothing alike. But yeah, I actually had this on VHS, actually. I don't have the tape here, so I can't, you know, just visually show you what it looks like. But yeah, I saw this a couple of years back, and, you know, it's good fun, you know, for what it is. It doesn't take itself too seriously or anything like that. It's very clunky in a lot of places, and I will admit the first half was better than the second half, but, you know, for what it is, you know, it's good fun. It's, you know, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a little bit of fun. Yeah, but of course you have like Dudley Moore and a few other people in it. And you have, of course, John Lithgow's over-the-top performance. For free! Here's the disc. Now I move on to another film featuring a version of Santa Claus, but this one is aimed at a completely different audience. And that is Christmas Evil. This is part of 88 Films' slasher classic collection, which is not true at all because this is not a slasher film. I first heard about this film last year. I did write a fairly extensive review in my Letterboxd of this film, so if you want to read that, then be my guest. But yeah, this is actually a really good little film. I was going to say it's a bit like Silent Night, Deadly Night, but it's not really. It sort of has a similar premise to Silent Night, Deadly Night, but not exactly. And I do think this is better than Silent Night, Deadly Night, although Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 is comedy gold. But yeah, this is not a slasher film at all. There's only like 3 deaths or something about the whole thing. It is basically like a psychological thriller, you know, about, you know, this guy who, you know, who has like lost his mind and stuff. But yeah, this is actually a really, really good film, this. You know, don't expect like a slasher film, but, you know, it's a really, really good little film, you know. Here's the disc. This also has reversible artwork. This is the poster artwork, which normally I tend to use the poster artwork if they give me the option, but, you know, given just how shit that cover is, you know, I've decided just to use the artwork that it came with. And then the last 2 items are ones I actually got for Christmas. And the first one is No Time to Die. This was the latest James Bond film, and you can kind of tell like the period, you know, between films being released in cinemas and released on Blu-ray is decreasing, because I went to see this back in October, and I believe some cinemas are still playing it, like selected ones, which is a bit odd because, you know, you can buy it on Blu-ray, so what's the point? But it came out on Blu-ray in December. And yeah, obviously I think I've said it before that I was very sceptical of it, you know, when it was, you know, being announced and the delays and stuff. And when I finally watched it, I thought it was really good. It's not for everyone, you know. I know there's some people, you know, who were more critical of it. I think if you like On Her Majesty's Secret Service, you're probably gonna like this. But yeah, I do really like this film. It's not as good as On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and there are Bond films I prefer over this, you know, even from the Craig era. I think Casino Royale's better, but this is still a really good film. Maybe I might be more critical of it if I watch it again, but, you know, who knows. Anyway, here are the discs. Film disc bonus features, which is surprisingly quite rare these days to get a bonus disc of bonus features. You know, because I mean, they're like everywhere back in the day, but now you don't see them that often. And the final item is a box set, and it is House the Collection. This includes all 4 House films, so House 2, the second story, House 3, the horror show, and House 4, Repossession. I've heard pretty good things about, well, the first one at least, you know, kind of like cult 80s horror. I've not seen any of these films yet, so they should be fun. So anyway, here the disc. So we have House right here. There's a disc, and here's the artwork that it came with. I always tend to use the poster artwork, but you know, the new artwork's pretty cool. House 2, the second story. Here's the disc, and here's the artwork that it came with. House 3, the horror show, or just the horror show, because like when you look at this up on IMDb and Wikipedia and stuff, it does go under the title the horror show, but it's actually called, but I don't know why it's just called the horror show in some places, but you know, it's House 3. I don't know if this one was direct to video or it was released in cinemas. I'm not 100% sure. I think the first 2 were released in cinemas, and I know the last one was direct to video. Here's the disc, and there's the artwork that it came with. Lance Henriksen's in that one, who was also in Millennium and a few other things I can't remember. And then we have one which was released direct to video, House 4, the Repossession. So yeah, I'm not holding up high hopes for this one, you know, because usually like direct to video horror films generally have, in fact, direct to video films in general tend to have a pretty bad reputation. But yeah, here's the disc, here's the inside artwork, and here's the disc. So yeah, that is it. That is everything. I've counted how many DVDs and Blu-rays I bought this year, and not including Doctor Who, you know, it's come up to about 72. Or around 72. When you count the Doctor Who stuff, it goes well into the 80s, which is quite frankly ridiculous because I don't buy like films for the sake of it. You know, I'm more quality over quantity, and because I've got like a big want list and like priorities and stuff, you know, eventually I'm going to run out of titles on that list to get, so you know, I'm not going to be able to buy anymore. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and cut down the amount of DVDs and Blu-rays I buy, because most years I tend to average around about 40. So I'm going to try it this year and get it back down to 40. So the collection updates are going to be a lot more infrequent and a lot smaller, hopefully. Hopefully, if I can control myself, that is. But yeah, that is it for the moment. Till next time, have a happy new year. Goodbye.